Hi, do grab your cup, sit back, and let's spill some tea. Have fun watching this video to the end.
Take me to Chanel, nigga, take me to Chanel. Yeah, take me to Chanel.
Every love story with Diddy starts the same way, with charm, money, and power. But almost all of them end in heartbreak, distance, and silence. He's a man who built an empire off of charisma and control. The parties, the private jets, the diamond chains, they were all part of the image. But behind the luxury was a pattern that every woman who loved him eventually noticed. From Jennifer Lopez to Kim Porter, from Cassie Ventura to Young Miami, every chapter in Diddy's love life told the same story: passion, loyalty, and walking away. This isn't a gossip story. It's a timeline of how the women in Diddy's world became his biggest lesson. Because in the end, every queen that stood beside him left stronger than she came.
Take me to Chanel, yeah. Hello. Take me to Chanel, nigga, take me to Chanel, yeah. Take me to Chanel, yeah.
Before the world knew him as Love or Brother Love, he was Puff Daddy, a force of nature in the 90s hip-hop scene. He was confident, loud, and unstoppable. The founder of Bad Boy Records, home to the notorious B.I.G., Mace, Faith Evans, and so many others, Diddy was not just a producer, he was the definition of power. In every room, all eyes were on him. He didn't chase fame, fame chased him. And that kind of energy attracts everyone, especially women. He had the looks, the drive, the money, but more than that, he had presence. And with that presence came control. Those close to him during the early years describe him as charming but demanding, affectionate but possessive. When you were with Diddy, you didn't just date a man, you joined his empire. His pace became your pace, his goals became your goals, and slowly his identity began to swallow yours. But there was one woman who seemed to match that same energy, and she changed everything.
J.Lo, coming off the grid with me, trusting me with your vibration.
To have somebody by your side who understands.
When Jennifer Lopez and Diddy met in 1999, both were at the height of their fame. J.Lo was the rising Latina superstar, and Diddy was the hip-hop mogul turning everything he touched into gold. Together, they became the it couple. They weren't just dating, they were redefining celebrity power. From award shows to music videos, from coordinated outfits to endless media coverage, J.Lo and Diddy were everywhere. Their chemistry was undeniable. They were young, rich, and madly in love. But behind the perfect image, the cracks were already showing. Friends and insiders described the relationship as intense and unpredictable. Diddy's need for control clashed with J.Lo's growing independence. She was stepping into her own power: music, film, fashion, and that didn't always sit well. Then came that night, December 27th, 1999. A New York nightclub, a gunshot, chaos. Both Diddy and J.Lo were arrested, though she was quickly released and cleared. It was the scandal that shook the world, and it marked the end of their fairy tale. J.Lo later said, "It was too much chaos. I just wanted peace." Diddy never spoke much about it afterward. He didn't chase her publicly, didn't defend the relationship. He just moved in silence. And that silence said everything. Because for J.Lo, the chaos was love lost. But for Diddy, it was the beginning of a pattern he would repeat again and again. If J.Lo represented fire, Kim Porter was warmth. She wasn't just another girlfriend, she was his mirror, his peace, his reality check. Kim was there before the height of fame, before the billions. She saw the boy from Harlem who wanted to change the world, and she stood by him while he did it. They had 3 children together. They built a home, shared holidays, dreams, and heartbreaks. And even when they weren't together, there was always love. But Kim also knew what it was like to live in Diddy's shadow. She once said that being with him was like being on a roller coaster, thrilling but exhausting. He wanted to control everything: the image, the music, the narrative, even love. Their love was real, but it was also turbulent. They broke up and reunited multiple times. Every time Kim came back, she hoped for peace. But peace isn't something you can have when you're constantly competing with power. When Kim passed away in 2018, Diddy called her his soulmate. He posted tributes saying he missed her voice, her smile, her love. But fans couldn't help but notice he seemed broken in a way he'd never been before. Kim was the one who grounded him, and when she was gone, he lost his anchor. It wasn't just grief, it was realization that love can't be managed and loyalty can't be controlled.
I've been in love with Kim almost all my life.
Then came Cassie, the young, beautiful singer with a soft voice and star potential. She met Diddy when she was only 19, signed to his label, and quickly became his muse. What started as mentorship became a relationship, one that lasted over a decade. But unlike J.Lo and Kim, Cassie's story was quieter and more mysterious. To the public, they were glamorous. But behind closed doors, the lines between love and control blurred. Cassie rarely released music, rarely did interviews, and seemed to disappear into Diddy's world. Everywhere he went, she was beside him, but never quite seen as equal. For years, fans asked, why hasn't Cassie dropped another album? No one had the answer, until she left. In 2018, Cassie walked away. No drama, no public statement, just distance. And for the first time, Diddy didn't chase. Then came 2023, when Cassie filed a lawsuit that sent shockwaves through the industry. She accused Diddy of years of manipulation and emotional abuse. The internet erupted. Within 24 hours, they settled, but the silence spoke volumes. People started to connect the dots. The control, the pattern, the power dynamic, it was all there. And this time, the woman who stayed silent for years became the voice of truth. Cassie found love, got married, and started a family. Meanwhile, Diddy's image, once untouchable, began to crumble. Her freedom became his reckoning. After Cassie, Diddy's relationship seemed like headlines, not love stories. He was linked to Lori Harvey, Young Miami, Gina Wynn, and even rumored flings with rising influencers. Each one was flashy, luxury cars, lavish gifts, private jets. But something about them felt hollow. With Young Miami, the dynamic was the most public. She called him Poppy, appeared in interviews, and got extravagant presents. But when asked if they were exclusive, she said, "No, we're having fun." Behind the smiles and parties, it was clear Diddy wasn't looking for connection. He was looking for validation. And with every new woman, the cycle restarted. Charm, control, chaos, silence. The man who once represented Black excellence and love was now trending for all the wrong reasons.
When you look at every chapter of Diddy's love life, a pattern becomes impossible to ignore. Jennifer Lopez was the chase, the thrill of fame and fire. Kim Porter was the home, the balance between chaos and calm. Cassie was the control, a decade-long reflection of his need for power. Each woman entered his life during a different era, representing a different piece of who he was. But they all ended the same way, by walking away. Because when love becomes a transaction, it stops being love. When control replaces connection, it stops being partnership. And when silence replaces accountability, everything falls apart. Every breakup, every heartbreak, every silence, it wasn't coincidence. It was consequence. Diddy's need for power made him a mogul, but it also made him alone.
For decades, Diddy was untouchable. The world saw him as a visionary, a symbol of success, style, and strength. But now, the image is cracking. The lawsuits, the investigations, the canceled deals, it's all catching up. And through it all, the same women who once loved him are now thriving without him. J.Lo is a global brand, movies, tours, and happiness. Kim's legacy lives on through her children and the people who adored her. Cassie is glowing, married, peaceful, living her life far from the spotlight. And Diddy? He's silent. No more wild interviews, no more boasting, just quiet. And maybe that's the loudest sound of all, silence from a man who once owned the noise. Because when you spend your whole life building an empire but ignore the people who helped you build it, the empire eventually falls apart. Diddy's story is more than music or money. It's a story about power, ego, and the price of control. Every woman who loved him taught him a lesson, one he might never fully learn. Jennifer showed him that chaos can destroy even the strongest bond. Kim showed him that love without peace is still pain. Cassie showed him that silence is power and walking away is freedom. In the end, Diddy's empire wasn't destroyed by his enemies. It was undone by the people who loved him, because love doesn't survive where control lives. And maybe that's the lesson he was never ready to learn. No matter how much money, fame, or influence you have, you can't buy peace. You can't control love. And when love walks away, you can't buy it back.